episode 489. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Stiniak.
Hey.
Matt Selner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week we're talking about WWF Betrayal for the Game Boy Color. Before we jump into it, Matt, who is your favorite wrestler in this era?
Like today?
The Attitude Era.
Oh, okay.
When this video game was released.
I mean, obviously Mr. Stone Cold here, right?
I don't know. I mean, yes, but
I mean, I have favorite. I mean,
yeah,
there was a lot of good to be had. Undertaker.
I'm just saying, if somebody picked Stone Cold in the game you were playing, like, your alternative option was to pick, obviously, Jean Jacket Stone Cold, but separately from that, who did you pick, right? Who was your...
I like Triple H a lot. He's always a good heel. The DX, he always had that goofy... He's pretty capable of floating that line.
Yeah. Mark, where did you fall? I feel like I could guess, but...
I want you to guess.
I mean, like...
Viscera.
I feel like I know, and I also feel like a year ago when we talked No Mercy in Season 10, I probably opened the podcast with this exact question.
I remember Kane interfering with his matches.
Yeah. Mark, you seem like a Mick Foley guy.
I can see that. I respect Mick Foley. I do. You know I do like him.
Like all the personalities of Mick Foley, or
I'm thinking of just
no, it's the whole spectrum.
Mankind.
But you got, but Cactus Jack is cool. You got your Dude Love. Then you just have Mick Foley. Now X-Pac's my number one.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Stone Cold's like the free space on the bingo board of WWF, but like, X-Pac's up there, and Kane might be my runner-up.
That checks out. I should have known X-Pac
crap. I can't think of their name right now. The freaking the vampires.
Oh,
Gangrel and Edge and the Ministry.
Yeah.
Love their
the
intro.
end of every podcast, we get done recording, and listeners don't know it, but we hang out for a few minutes after we're done recording, except for Mark, who just screams "suck it" and signs off Discord and is gone. So I should have guessed X-Pac at the beginning of this. Yeah, the D-Generation X thing, I'd like to admit that I was not running around the neighborhood screaming "suck it," but
that was totally me.
I was 12 in that era, so I had to. But yeah, plus they had a really good color scheme of the black and green, Yeah, I liked saying Rikishi's name.
Does roll off the tongue nice.
Yeah, it's a good name. It just means sumo wrestler. That's it. That's all.
DX also had good intro music too.
That's the thing too.
That matters.
Freaking Rage Against the Machine.
I
Perfect.
think to that point, that's exactly what makes this game so special, is that you, in this era, you kind of followed what happened outside of the ring as much as you did what happened in the ring, right? Which is why developer WayForward Technologies partnered with publisher THQ to bring us WWF Betrayal on the Game Boy Color, which was first released August 7th, 2001. We've got, as expected, quite the back-of-the-box novel to read here. All caps at the very top, of course, in a very sick font. Uncover the mystery and restore the championship. Stephanie McMahon Helmsley has been kidnapped, and Vince will give the championship to whoever can bring her back. Do you have what it takes to find Stephanie and secure the championship? Matt, is that still relevant today, you think? Do you think Vince would be giving the championship to whoever could bring back Stephanie to the WWF?
I wish I could say no, but it's probably still possible that could be a storyline.
I meant more. Aren't the current happenings of the WWF a little weird right now? Isn't? I guess it's WWE these days, but
correct. I mean, as we're recording, yes, Vince was gone, now is back. Did pretty much like a hostile takeover from the board to become chairman again. Stephanie, the aforementioned Stephanie, who is their chief brand officer, is not their chief brand officer anymore. She is out.
Yeah, he fully got rid of her, right?
I don't know. She was on a leave of absence right as a lot of the weird stuff with him and him paying off women for that kind of stuff. Right as that was breaking, she went on like a leave of absence from
lawyer
whatever.
Move.
Vince then retired. I said that in air quotes.
Right.
Stephanie became co-CEO with another gentleman named Nick Khan. But then recently Vince has come back, and Stephanie has stepped down. Triple H did take over head of creative, which is chief content officer, I believe is the title. He is still that and is still the showrunner for all storylines, which he does a very good job of. You look at his resume from NXT and all the good stuff he was doing down there. But everyone's scared that Vince is going to take back over that chair, and we might get storylines like, my daughter's been kidnapped. If you bring her back, you have a chance for the title at WrestleMania.
Well, let me ask you this. As someone who kind of vocally has said he's not interested or following the WWE in recent years, by nature of me asking specifics about the current happenings of the business of WWF, am I then not in turn interested in WWE as a whole? It's probably a question for myself, not you. I'm sorry to put that on you.
Yeah. I think also, the business side is equally as interesting as the in-ring stuff.
The business, maybe that's the current modern day outside of the ring stuff that's happening.
Yeah, it's almost like you have your daytime soap opera in the ring during TV, and then you have your Succession going on behind closed doors.
Yes. That they should make an HBO show about the WWE. I guess they kind of did. They just, you put this game on our list for season 11, Matt, to round out our January's list of games.
Sure.
Why'd you pick this one?
So it's very hard to pick a wrestling game to follow WWF No Mercy. I knew that before we played No Mercy last year, and it was reinforced after we played No Mercy last year. And it wouldn't be me to not have a WWE type game on here, but like I said, the rest of the offering, it's there's some winners, but there's nothing quite like No Mercy. So I decided when I discovered this was a game, literally as I was making this list to submit for this year, I said, this is it. This is something that's out of left field. That is a WWF or WWE property. So if anything's going to follow up No Mercy, it has to be this, because all the other wrestling games don't compare to No Mercy.
Well, I find that, okay, so you probably told me this at some point when we were setting up our schedule and all of that, but I always assumed, as I'd been playing this, that this was something you had on your Game Boy as a child that you were excited to revisit in some fashion.
Nope.
So this was the first time playing through for all three of us, yes?
Yep.
Interesting.
I'm sorry if I alluded to that.
No, I don't think you did. I think I just assumed and didn't ask. I don't know, but interesting. Because I found that as I played it, had I been 12 still, I probably would have really dug this, generally speaking. Maybe not the subway level, but everything else I probably would have been into. and I tried to kind of put myself back in that headspace when playing this. But yeah, okay, so we all did this together. Is there, did having this on Game Boy Color affect its selection? Like, obviously the setting and the setup for this is that's novel enough to make it an intriguing game, but having it on Game Boy Color, did that help weigh your decision against like another random wrestling game from the past?
No, not really, because I've played some like other wrestling games on Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced. So like I knew what the offering is like. This is WWF, WWE, like proper property, and it's so different. And I guess this is when we should explain like why this is different. This is like a Streets of Rage clone. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. Has literally nothing to do with wrestling until you fill up this meter, and then you occasionally have Stone Cold pull a stunner. He also does the thing, I forget what it's called, when he like tackles someone and beats their head in like for 8 punches in a row. It's like something press. I forget the actual name of it. I'm going to assume The Rock does rock bottoms. Undertaker does some tombstones, Triple H pedigrees, but that's really the only kind of like wrestling WWE mechanic to it. Yeah, the rest of it is straight up beat 'em up. You can pick up weapons, and you just go left to right, sometimes up and down, and just get to the next level.
Yes, there's 6 levels in total. You start off in the kind of during a match that's quickly taken outside of the ring, and then the game progresses through there. But you do work your way through, outside of the event stadium, into the garage, to the street, to the subway. You climb or you ride the elevator to the top of the towers that are the Vince McMahon headquarters, all the way to the game's thrilling conclusion at the top. Mark, where do you want to start on this one? What was your initial first hands on the controller or the game, whatever? You're diving into Betrayal.
It really easy to pick up. Like just having that like beat 'em up background. I tried all the basic stuff. Like, okay, what does B do? What does A do? What does A and B do together? What does double tap forward do? Like, you got to make sure if you can run or not. If you have a combo that can take your health away, like a special attack or something. Just got to check all those corners. And I don't think there was really any special attacks. It was just punching. And until your meter fills up, then you pull off, like Matt was saying, you just pull off your signature move, whatever. But there is running, so that helped. And you might be able to cheese the game with the running and constant like attack after running. Like you might do like a slide kick or something. But yeah, that was the first thing. And along with that, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but did anyone imagine just a cameraman following you the whole time?
I didn't think about that, but that would make too much sense.
Like, every time I would play a wrestling game that you could go backstage, that was the first thing that we would try to do, was go backstage.
Yeah.
And fight back there. And usually, and like, I just always think about that cameraman. So it's like, oh, you go beyond the backstage in this. And he's like, oh, we're doing this, huh? We're just, all right. To the sewers.
That is like a running joke in wrestling like forums about like when there's those backstage, not like a match is back there, but like something happens backstage and the cameraman just happens to be there and catch the thing at that time. So like, it's funny that you say that. I just took the camera for granted as well.
Yeah, and now picturing the cameraman wandering through everywhere you go in this game, that's pretty good. I guess I'd be remiss. Who did you play as, Mark?
So when I first saw the character select screen, I don't know why I was assuming I'd have a bigger roster, but it's just 4 characters. And so I was like, all right, well, I assumed either of you or both of you would pick Stone Cold.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to do Stone Cold. So the closest to DX I could get was Triple H. So I went with Triple H.
That is DX.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad choice.
Or else I would have done Undertaker, probably.
I was gonna do Undertaker, but he wasn't in his cool goth phase. He was in his biker phase, which
Kid Rock phase.
Yeah. Speaking of The Rock, congrats to Dwayne Johnson for doing it. You know, because I think for the years after leaving the WWF and starting to do movies as Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he still was that. And until like this game, I hadn't thought about it, but at some point I did switch over to, I still think of him as The Rock, but I don't think of him as The Rock. Like, he's not The Rock from wrestling anymore. He's just The Rock from Dwayne Johnson.
Generic action movie.
Yeah, but then seeing his character, his sprite art in this game, where he's just in his
I think it's because he has like his underwear and the sunglasses.
Yeah,
they look like swimmer goggles, so I keep thinking he just looks like a swimmer.
Yeah, it looks like a swimmer NPC from Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got that. It's that look that he had, right? Like, because The Rock used to wrestle in the more underwear style,
the tights
bottoms with the big bull on the back of it or whatever, and that was his thing. But I forgot about that entirely. Yeah, my main playthrough was Stone Cold because it had to be. But I was curious to see if they all felt different, and they don't. They do have the different finishing moves, which is nice, and they've got some, but generally speaking, it's still kind of the same button input, same gameplay, no matter who you pick, so you can kind of pick who you like. Matt, what about you? What was your reaction to jumping into this for the first time? Were you pleased to have selected WWF Betrayal?
I don't know if I would say pleased, but I was having fun. It was different. I mean, it was senseless. I wasn't thinking. I didn't really have to think until the subway level, and even then, it was just I had to put more thought into my actions rather than overthink something. It's senseless, mindless, dumb, but in the best way possible. So, it's one of those things where I don't know. It's definitely not the best game you'll ever play, but it's entertaining for the 2 hours or so. How long was this game? An hour?
Did it take you 2?
I don't know. I don't remember now. I think it was an hour.
I think I was in and out in 40 minutes tops.
Maybe like a little less than that for me.
Now, granted, that's what's save states and stuff like that. So, I would have died and had to restart, like traditional, like a Mario or something like that. But, if you kind of know what you're doing to get through, 40 minutes?
Yeah, it was generally pretty straightforward. The subway fight, the elevator gave me a little bit of a tough time, but
it was WayForward.
But it wasn't too bad. I didn't realize. So the one thing that was kind of neat about this one is you automatically pick up weapons, which was cool. Like, I think that's like a generally good approach for a beat 'em up. The thing that I didn't realize while I was playing it, like the first few levels, I guess, was the health recharge when punching. Did you guys pick up on that?
I kind of saw it was happening, but I didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, I didn't register that.
So as long as you were successfully hitting, even if it was someone who was like on the ground and near death, you could kind of spam until they flickered away. You could spam health recharge. So that made that subway fight a lot easier once I realized what I was doing, because I did the frustrated button. I find myself not doing that too much, but this, I was just like, I noticed that the more I punched, the better I did, so I just kept punching. And in that subway against that idiot with the gun, I just kept slamming, and then I was like, oh, my health's going back up. That's weird. And then grabbed somebody and just punch, and saw it was going back. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a mechanic I can use.
Those dudes with the suitcase guns or whatever they were holding.
That's the most ridiculous.
My trick was just to run at them.
Yep.
And then repeat that. Don't give them a frame of animation after that.
Also, the other guy, he would be frustrated. The guy with the stun, the stun rod.
Oh man, he was cheap.
He could stun lock you.
Yeah, he got you in a combo. Like, it was like a loop for a little bit. It's like,
and then sometimes like he would like, because a lot of you kind of figure out like once the character stops moving, they're gonna like attack within the next few frames animation. So like you kind of bait them to you. They stop and you take a step back or start to move back, and then they do their move and you kind of step up and punch. But like he was inconsistent with like when he would use the stun rod. Like he would do it once, sometimes do it twice. Right. I bugged one out where he did it until I moved. So I didn't understand the AI logic with that, and it made it kind of frustrating because again it would have been fine if it was like a one hit I got out of it, but more times than not, I was usually stun locked and either half my health or I'm dead.
Yeah. Easier when you can read it, and you couldn't read that always. Sorry, Mark.
No, I learned with the boss fights that kicking is pointless. Like, mashing punch was the way to go because of like the hitbox of it or something. Like that detection was just ridiculous. That had way more reach than.
Felt like I was playing a Mario Party game. I had to hit A as quickly as possible.
This made me think of like
boss fights were.
It was like Rock'em Sock'em Robots for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. This also there were some good lines in this. I don't know what you got as Triple H, Mark, but my favorite was Stone Cold saying, "You better not be lying to the rattlesnake." I made sure to write that down. There was also a line, "Don't trust anyone," just good general advice.
True. I forgot what he said. I think it had something to do with the game. Like, because he was called The Game or something like that at one point.
Right.
It was... I forget it exactly. But it was stupid. And then... So I'm guessing, like, what? Is Triple H's story... Would that one be the canon one here?
Oh, I guess
Because his wife got stolen? Like, kidnapped, whatever?
Yeah. I guess who would have won the championship in 2001 in that year?
One of these four.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
I can look.
And then Vince just being the turd to, like, backstab me at the last second. Like, so you kidnapped your own daughter? That's what? Okay.
That all felt exactly like, a story arc in the show, though. Like, Matt's not wrong. That's very much what Vince would have written back then.
That's very true.
Yeah, I thought they nailed that part. In fact, I wonder if we're forgetting that this was ever actually... Like, maybe this was a storyline that we forgot about.
Stephanie may have been kidnapped by the Ministry of Darkness.
See?
I think someone was. I just can't remember who.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Wasn't them.
Anything went in that Attitude Era, which brought us good as much as it brought us bad.
Who was that guy who, like, he was like softcore porn, the wrestler? He always came out in the towel.
Venus.
I hate him. He was my least favorite. Hated that guy. Wouldn't be surprised if he was the one who would, like, kidnap her or something.
I remember the name. I don't remember what that guy looked like. When you said that, I was picturing a combination of Ric Flair and Goldust, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just like a average dude. Just always had wet shoulder-length hair and like a goatee or something, and
Yeah.
He's always had a bath towel. That was like his thing.
Huh. I also, while playing this really made me fall back in love with the Game Boy Color. So I appreciate it for that, Matt. I'm glad you put it on the list for that reason. Kind of subsequently, I'd been playing some Wii Sports, which of course is the number one video game on our list right now. We'll see what happens after we rank WWF Betrayal. But Wii Sports is our current reigning champion, and it's still been fun to return to. But I also jumped back into Nintendo Switch Sports in the last few weeks. And I've wildly had a lot of fun with Switch Sports. I think when it first came out, I don't remember if we talked about it on the podcast at all, but I was having some tough times with Joy-Con syncing or not syncing, but like, responsiveness that felt off, and the game just didn't feel as good as Wii Sports did. But it's been patched. They added golf to it. It's been very good. So I've been playing a lot of that, particularly playing a lot of golf. And then when I was away from the Switch and couldn't play on the TV, I still wanted to play golf. So I ended up kind of marrying that with my Game Boy Color return here with WWF and jumped into Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color. And that's been a super fun time, which led to, I've got this 3DS and I bought Mario Golf. I think I bought Mario Golf when, Matt, you bought your 2DS. And then I played probably an hour of it and never touched it again. So I've jumped way back into that. And playing all of these random handheld games again has reminded me of, and this kind of comes back to this game here, where if you think about WWF Betrayal's console contemporaries at the time, they were doing realistic, hardcore wrestling simulation, where this said, well, we can't fully pull that off in a way that looks and feels as good as the consoles, so what can we do? And they found some way to be creative within the limitations of the Game Boy Color in it. I don't know, I kind of appreciate the game for that, and I appreciate, generally, it made me miss not having two separate. I feel like 6 years ago, it was probably I should go back and listen, probably through the roof, hearing that Nintendo was going to create a hybrid console and finally just put everything all in one. But the thing I didn't think about then, and I don't think I'd realized until recently, is what we were actually losing by gaining a hybrid is that those two separate arms of development, where you're kind of forced to make smaller experiences and experiences that are more tailored for mobility. And
right.
This is that. I mean, you could start, obviously this game's pretty quick if you just kind of go, but you could start a level, stop, save, get your password at the end of a level and move on and go do something else and come back, pick it up later. And not many games have that kind of bite-sized mentality any longer. They've all been replaced with slot machines, but this was really good and refreshing in that sense, at least. And kind of made me yearn for a different time.
I can kind of echo that in a smaller way. This makes me think of one Christmas where I did have a Game Boy Color, and my grandmother did not know. She didn't really know much about games. Never expected her to, of course. But I think she knew that I liked wrestling at that point. So she had gotten me, I think it was a WCW versus NWO Game Boy Color game. And I couldn't tell you how to play it. I didn't know then. I haven't tried since. I just kind of gave up. I might have gave it some time one day, but I can barely remember anything about that. I just knew it was tough to do a wrestling game with 2 buttons. And so in that sense, I'm thankful that I could play a wrestling game now on the Game Boy Color, that it simplified those controls and made it playable because of it. And it did my favorite thing, which was going beyond the ring. The WCW may have had backstage stuff. Don't quote me on that. I can barely remember how it looks either. I wouldn't be surprised if the sprites weren't too different from Betrayal. Watch that game end up being like really fun or something. I just didn't know how to play it, but yeah, to echo Joe with that, that comparison always comes to my mind too, with something like that.
Those I think that was always great too. The we could probably do a whole episode side episode about the grandma games that we got. You know, like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, did you have any weird pontifications at random while playing this one?
I'm not gonna say yes, but like I appreciated it for. I appreciate its different approach to traditional WWF because, like Mark said, I didn't own that WCW game, and I was looking it up. I don't know. Did you have Mayhem on Game Boy Color?
Maybe.
I can't find a WCW NWO game on a Game Boy Color.
Oh, maybe it was just called something else.
Anyway, but I had WrestleMania 2000 on Game Boy Color, and I think I played enough where I was starting to figure it out with like the grabs, like you had to grab and kick, besides just kicking and stuff and pulling off suplexes, things like that. But it like you said, it's tough to have like probably at this time WWF SmackDown was on PlayStation. Did you have a PlayStation 2 yet at this point? I can't remember. You might be on the verge of Just Bring It, which is another decent wrestling game. The GameCube or N64 has some. Yeah, I mean you have No Mercy as like. Let's just think about that. You have No Mercy.
Yeah.
So like you have No Mercy, which is probably as we said last year, probably the best wrestling game still to date. And then you have to have this game come out and compete with that. Like yes, you should pivot. You should try something new. I'm sure probably what they tried with WrestleMania 2000, whatever feedback they got, that's probably when they kind of realized like, hey, we kind of can't pull off another one. Let's try something different. And that's one day. I would like to know how this original idea came up. Like, was this a game that the developer was making and then they just fell into the wrestling license and got the sign off, or did they get the license and were told to do something? I'm more fascinated with the story of how this was made. And I maybe didn't do enough research before coming on here, so I don't know if it's an easy tale to find, but that process fascinates me.
Yeah, because WayForward was very, they were storied developers for the Game Boy at that point. I mean, I think today everyone obviously knows Shantae for the Game Boy Color. But yeah, I don't know if they were approached to make the game or, I'm not sure.
It was Mayhem. Just called WCW Mayhem.
Mayhem, you probably had backstage stuff, because that was like Mayhem's claim to fame was going backstage.
Yeah, I just couldn't figure it out. And I'm wondering if WayForward messed with that one at all. Because if you look at the sprites, Goldberg looks almost exactly like Steve Austin. Same pose.
It is kind of.
Yeah. They probably... Either they did or the same artist worked on that. You said it was WWF No Mercy? I'm sorry, WCW No Mercy?
WCW Mayhem.
Why am I... Yeah, I'm an idiot.
I'm seeing an EA and 2N Productions.
Yeah, no. So that is just straight up
ripping.
theft.
Maybe they had signed on. I mean, that's also what? How old is that? Was that a year before? 2 years before? It was a year before, right? 2000, 2001?
Mayhem was?
Mayhem was 2000.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that was a full year before this, so
I'm wondering if that artist just like
last
Swap was like, "Hey, we can do. I got these left over."
Also, in all fairness, like if you're gonna try and make these characters Game Boy sprites or these people, like
Yeah.
you don't have much to work with. But I don't know, that pose of,
Someone definitely showed their resume. And I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that Vince McMahon was in the room, but the spirit of Vince McMahon said in someone's ear, "That's Stone Cold."
There you go. Bald dude with a goatee is a wrestler. It's
it's one or the other.
kids will buy it.
Did Goldberg have to shave his head?
Like
Stone
have
Cold
to
got very
because of that?
popular, and then WCW had to respond, right? So, like, was Goldberg just like a dude named Tom, and then had like a mullet? But they were like, "All right, we need a Stone Cold."
His name's Bill, isn't it?
I think you're right.
Bill Goldberg, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's his stage name or his actual name.
Right. And he had such a like basic signature move too. Was it the spear?
And a jackhammer.
Oh, right. Jack.
He's not a good wrestler. People don't like wrestling with him.
Did people
I liked
like
him
wrestling
in,
with Sting? Because Sting was my favorite.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah,
Sting's
yeah.
still around. I think he said this is last year. Sting's in AEW right
Damn.
now. He's not doing too much in the ring, but he's like a manager to someone. It's
Is he
awesome.
Just
Still doing the paint?
Oh yeah.
Good.
It
I
was
just love that he's just a crow, but the scorpion.
story time, but when AEW was here in Baltimore at UMBC, I saw, and it was so bizarre because they did the whole thing with Sting and his little protege Darby Allin, and they were in the fucking like like upstairs in like the broadcast booth. You know, they always hung out up top and like always look down below. It did
Hell
that.
yeah.
I was like, damn, I haven't seen that shit since I was 10. This is awesome.
That's pretty sick.
Just a trench coat and a baseball bat.
What more do you need? You know?
It's the same thing.
No, I love it.
Oh, he still does the same thing. Anyway, he's not in Betrayal.
He should be. Well, he's in No Mercy, right?
No, he's in WCW at that time. I don't think Sting's in a WWE game until
No, until that
like
more
his
recent
his
one.
recent
Right.
run.
If I call No Mercy, if I call Mayhem No Mercy one more time, I'm gonna hit myself with a baseball.
Oh yes, he was.
Yes,
in
he's
Mayhem.
in Mayhem.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But he's not wearing a trench coat.
No, but he should be.
You might be the PlayStation 1 game.
Well, yeah. I'm sure there's multiple outfits you can pick from. Plus his classic 80s look or whatever.
Yeah. Well, as we've reached the end of the episode, it's not quite over because we need to rank WWF Betrayal against the other games on the list. If you want to follow along with the list, you can do that at thefreecheese.com/the-list. You can also go to thefreecheese.com, click on the January article, or find the article for this podcast episode. You can see our full reviews with our scores and our breakdown and all of that fun, all those fun extras. Yeah. This one, I mean, our review scores don't weigh into how we rank these games, but this was very middle of the road for me. I did not dislike my time with it. In fact, it's led me to some other fun avenues, but as a whole, the game itself left me a little unfulfilled.
Did you feel betrayed?
Not quite. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I did. Did you?
I don't think the game was offensive.
No.
Like, it's playable. Finished it.
Not nearly as anxious this episode as it was last episode, so that might say something about where my scores land.
So, where are you landing? If you had to?
Oh no! This is the
Oh
year
no!
I stand back and let you all debate. I just chime in.
I think a sweet spot for me is, this seems low, but I don't mean it with a negative connotation. I'm going to say right beneath Devil's Crush taking the new 37.
Oh, that's higher than I had it.
it's just a game that I would like. Well, my factor has always been like, do I want to play this again?
Sure.
I could. Do I want to play it more than Chameleon Twist 2? Yes. More than Top Gear Rally?
Okay.
Yes. More than Devil's Crush? No.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Nothing against it in that regard, but I just... Yeah, it's fine.
All right, I'll chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of a similar thing. I had it right above Gauntlet at the new 39.
Okay.
I was thinking they're kind of similar. You just kind of go. I know Gauntlet is a little bit more up, down, left, right, and whatever. Yeah. But you're just mashing people, and it's longer. At least with this, you're in and out. If you're not having a good time, but you want to say you beat it, like you're in and out in 45 minutes. I think the fact that it has the property of WWE is a little bit more interesting than Gauntlet's property. I'm just not big into fantasy. But yeah, no. I think Chameleon Twist is a more unique game. That's why I'm kind of have that above. But I definitely like this better than Top Gear Rally. That game was boring.
Yeah.
Y'all convinced? I had this down in the cool spot Paperboy 2 range.
Oh no.
I was never frustrated.
We could reserve that for a later game.
Yeah, I mean that subway level and that one enemy is kind of frustrating, but other than I never not enjoy those games. There are periods of time where I didn't enjoy playing it.
That's fair.
This, I mean, again, it's short, and I think that's his best benefit, right? I never went back and played this AAA run. I just figured it was a different finishing move, and I'm not eager to go back to this, but. Yeah. I enjoyed the hour or so I put into this. I never really strongly disliked. Well, that again, the subway level sucks, but that was the only bad thing.
And this would be a great grandma game. If my grandma got me this, I'd be like, hell yeah. And there'd be that more sentimental value there, probably.
Yeah, this would be one of those grandma games that's like, dude, my grandma got me that.
Maybe Mayhem is a good game. I just don't know it.
Yeah, you gotta go back to Mayhem now.
Yeah.
Remember in WrestleMania 2000 on Game Boy Color, I'm gonna say it's okay. It's not offensive, but it's not your console counterpart.
Right.
All right, well, there's our new 37, WWF Betrayal. Right in between Devil's Crush and Top Gear Rally. And that's been episode 49. Next week, in 490, we are not talking about a game to add to the list, but in fact, creating a brand new list. A list of video game consoles. So come back, hang out with us as we do our first console ranking, where we are going to discuss and rank 10 consoles in the course of 1 hour. It'll be kind of a speed run ranking, but should be an interesting departure from our normal episodes. And then we'll be back at the beginning of February with another month full of games. If you want to see or learn about all of the games that we are talking about in February, come back February 1st to thefreecheese.com and check out our February write-up. We'll have all of the games announced at that point for you to follow along with and play with us. Until next week, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Thank you, WayForward, for making a video game. Go get yourself a trench coat and a baseball bat. We'll see you next time.